Well, welcome to another exciting edition of that 90s Premier League podcast. Woody, how are you, mate?
Very well, thank you, mate. Very well. Good to be back, and we have a guest again, mate.
Oh, we love these guest episodes. Yep.
We do.
We do. He's a lifelong Crystal Palace fan, a stand-up comedian, and co-host of the legendary 5-Year Plan podcast. Please welcome Jim Daly.
Thank you, lads, for having me. What an intro. That's beautiful. It's good to be here.
Right.
Good to be amongst Palace shirt, retro 90s Palace shirt. Like, this is absolutely...
We try.
If I died, I think this is my idea of heaven. Being surrounded by people wearing original Palace 90s kit. That's all I ever dreamed of.
Yeah,
were you a shirt collector back in the sort of 90s and still?
Yeah, I don't know about collector because that would have been using my pocket money, and I think mum and dad would have had questions. But yeah, loved the shirt, loved an Italian shirt. I got a whole sort of love relationship with Serie A and Gazzetta, and so I became a Juve fan and an Inter fan. I had the Juve blue away with the yellow star on the corner.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like you had to get these catalogs. I can't remember where from and send off for them and fill out forms and stuff. It was weird. And then I had obviously Palace shirts, and they've all gone. Because now in my mid-40s, early 40s, although early 40s is until sort of 49 and a half. I'm a shirt collector, as you're saying off air, thanks to kind of, your Vintage and your eBays of the world.
Yeah.
And, yes, I would have loved to have some of those shirts, but I don't know, they're gone. I think my memory is, around 2003 when I went to uni, I think my mum gave them away to like some sort of African scheme, or that's what I tell me. Maybe that's what she told me. They could well be in Edenbridge in Kent. I don't know. But there's some big. I mean, there was I got into Inter Milan. I had Djorkaeff 6 on the back of that Inter Umbro shirt with the Umbro in the middle. That would have been worth it. Those Juve shirts would have been worth it.
Is that what your mum told you then, so that she put you off the scent, so that you didn't go all the way to Africa to look for the shirt?
Actually, little did she know me, because if she'd said a country in Africa, there's a fair chance I would have started tracking them down. I suspect. Oh, my mum's a very trusting person, so I suspect she probably thinks she shipped them off to some sort of African scheme, and they probably went to the back of a van in an East London market.
Yeah,
they've gone. Well done.
So yeah, we're just going to touch on Palace in the 90s, mate. So when did you start supporting Palace, mate? What got you into the Palace?
So I do this on my. I'm touring, by the way. Yes, I got it in. I do this in my stand-up. I'm a Palace fan because of my dad, which is a very well-worn path for a lot of people. And my dad was a Palace fan since 1956. And so when I was about 7 or 8, he sat me down and he was like, "You can support Palace or you can get the hell out of my house." And I gave it a serious thought. I decided, fine, I'll support Palace. So there's very, very little choice. His dad supported Tottenham, actually. So there's in another lifetime, I could have been a Spurs fan, because his dad was born in Walthamstow. So I grew up a Spurs fan. And his dad, so my great granddad, was born in Cork. So no connection to London at all. But then they came over here and he was born in Walthamstow. But when my dad was born, they'd moved to Esher in Surrey. So obviously very south of the river. And in my head, this is what I do as a comedian, is you get a story and you think, I'm just going to roll with this. In my head, he took my dad to Spurs versus Palace in his first ever game. But my dad went, "I love the claret and blue of that kit. I'm going to be a Palace fan." And Granddad was like, "No." The real story is, because they were south of the river and Palace at that point were 3rd Division South, games were cheap and easy and quick to get to. So he took him versus, I don't even know who it was at the time. And Dad became a Palace fan, and that was it. And then because when I got into football, we were living in, actually, first few years of my life, we were living abroad. So I lived in Dubai, Malaysia, and Spain the first 6 years of my life. So Dad had to come back for the cup final in 1990. But then when I got into football a couple of years later, we were living in Edenbridge in Kent, which is very much sort of Palace territory. It's only 45, 50 minutes from Selhurst.
Right. Yeah.
It was a no-brainer. But now I live in Chesham in Buckinghamshire, the other side of town, where obviously the local professional team is Watford or Wickham. The local Premier League team, oh God, it's probably Fulham or Chelsea. Or there's a lot of Arsenal around here, a lot of Arsenal and Spurs around here.
Yeah.
But I've already made the play for my kids to be Palace fans. Like, they've got all the kits and stuff. I did
good for you.
one Palace game, which was a women's game away at Arsenal last season when Palace were in the WSL. Looks like they might get back there actually next season. But it was at Boreham Wood, which wasn't far for us. And I had her in Palace kit and I had a Palace kit on. And obviously, if anyone knows anything about women's football, Arsenal are very good. Palace are not very good. Arsenal won 5-0. Halfway through the second half, my daughter said, "I think I like Arsenal." And I was like, "You fucking don't. You definitely don't." And her review of the day was that the chips were really good. So that's been her only experience of Palace. So hopefully there'll be some more opportunities at some
That's
point.
where it all starts. As long as the chips are good, Jim, that's fine.
Exactly. So hopefully when I take her to the Palace game, unfortunately Selhurst is quite far for us, but when I do take her, the chips had better be good. Otherwise it's over.
Well, let's briefly touch. You say you're touring at the moment, Jim. Is a lot of your content on your tour focused around your love of football, Crystal Palace, etc.?
It is. So this show is called Match of the Daily.
Nice.
I took a day off after writing that. I was like, and I was like, oh no, I've got to write a whole show. Crap. Okay. There's basically a football. It started off. It was going to be just me singing my songs, my parody songs, but it's ended up being a bit of a sort of a variety show of stand up and songs and a couple of games. And I'm doing these new things called football heckle comebacks where I get people to shout out their team.
I've seen the reel of that. Yeah,
great fun. It's so good, and like people really love it. So that's gone down really well. But all the stand-uppy bits, I've got a whole bit that's about how Palace are the most ridiculous team in the world. That starts off with us getting our name wrong on our badge, and then rolls into like the HF spray painting the wrong coat. It's great. And obviously, since the turn of 2026, that bit's become 45 minutes because we've just been so ridiculous. But yeah, so it's mostly all about football. My next show next year will be less about football, but I've obviously built up a following online of being a football creator, so it just made sense to do it. And I love doing it. It's a great show. Like, it's just so much fun. So I'm doing 6 cities: London, which is sold out.
Yeah.
Brighton, which hasn't sold out, funnily enough.
Yeah.
We sold half. It's not too bad. Brighton, Cheshire, which is my hometown, part of the Cheshire Fringe Festival, which if it doesn't sell out, I'm leaving. And then Manchester, Birmingham, and Liverpool, which have sold fewer tickets. Turns out I don't have as much of a following there. So if anyone's listening in any of those cities, please do come along, because otherwise I'm doing 100-seater venues, 10 people, which I've done worse. At Edinburgh, but we need to fill it out a little bit. Brighton typically is. This is so Palace, and the whole Brighton show is going to be a whole themed around this. The Brighton show is on Thursday, April the 30th, which, as you guys will know, is the first leg of the Conference League semi-final, should Palace make it, and it's the away leg. And I gave my agent one job. Don't book any tour dates over potential Palace games. I gave him the whole list of Conference League, and he obviously thought, they're not making the semi-final. And it's in Brighton, of all places. So obviously, I'm toying between talking about Palace a lot that night or just playing the game on a big screen. We'll all just watch that and see what happens.
But even if you rearrange the gig, they're even going to take more offence that a Crystal Palace fan doesn't want to play in Brighton, which is probably going to make it even worse.
You can't rearrange the gig. And it sucks because I've been to every European game so far. I've got tickets for Florence. I've done every away game, every home game. So should we make the final, I'll miss one game, which will be the semi. But at least I'll be playing a half room in Brighton.
So Jim, the 92 English league clubs in one song, how long did it take you to make that? That's brilliant, by the way.
Thank you. It differs every year. The first time I did it took ages because it's basically, I thought, because I did all these parody songs, and like I'd find if I did different teams, they'd do well. Like Liverpool, it'd be great. Arsenal, great. Spurs one, no one seems to care. So then I thought, why don't I just do a song that's got everyone's team in it? Literally everyone's team. Because in theory, everyone will watch it. And so I chose Billy Joel because that's like the go-to parody song for cramming lots of stuff in. And I reckon that initially took me a good week to write, mainly because I kept writing it, recording it, and then realizing, I forgot Wickham, shit. And going back to like rewrite, I forgot Harrogate, crap. Going through counting, like 90. Oh no, I've missed 2 somewhere. But then I had a formula. So that obviously once I did that, and then in fact, it was either that year or the year later I actually posted it, and someone went, there are only 91 teams here. I'm like, shit.
No.
It gets quicker every year, basically.
Yeah.
How good was it putting the lyrics, Crystal Palace, UEFA suck, don't care, we won the FA Cup?
That's great. I think that's the same one as well where I've done Brighton and wore a trophy, which was very enjoyable to write. That was very, very enjoyable. Despite the whole UEFA thing. I mean, it is what it is. Like, obviously it's annoying at the time, but we're having fun in Europe anyway, so it's all good.
What's it like actually seeing your team win the FA Cup, Jim?
What do you support Sheffield Wednesday, by the way?
I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's not about me. This is about you.
What's the heckle for Sheffield Wednesday? Have you got one?
Oh, it was something about -3 or something. I can't remember. I think it's something about this heckle's very long to respond to. It's now Sheffield Thursday or something like that. I need one. What was it like? It's literally everything you've ever dreamed of.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it every year, and every now and then you see a Leicester win it or Wigan, and you think, oh, that could be us.
Yeah.
And then it goes back to being Liverpool and City and whoever and Arsenal. It's everything. That moment of the final whistle will live with me forever. Like it was just, and I'm lucky enough that Dad was there.
Yeah.
But God, you think I've waited a long time, but I think how long Dad's waited.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's been so many. Well, how many finals have you made? I mean, obviously you've had a few playoff finals, but
oh God, yeah. Well, that's the third FA Cup final. Playoffs we've done. I think I've done all of them. We did 96, 97, 2004, 2013. And there was also one in 1989, but at that point they weren't at Wembley. They were like double legs at your home game, and I didn't. We were living in Spain.
Yeah.
So I've done all of them. Yeah.
What about the Zenith data systems?
I knew you'd pull that one out of the bags.
We love that trophy.
Didn't do that. Obviously, prior to last year was a legitimate trophy. Listen, I think we were the last team to win it as well. So yeah, Zenith Data Systems, obviously very important. Everyone wants to win that. Which was proudly, you'd go and do the tour at Palace, it'd be proudly displayed. It'd be like a parent displaying their child's shit artwork on the fridge. Look, isn't it beautiful?
I've seen on the club shop. There's the re-release of one of the shirts, and it says Zenith Data winners.
Yeah, quite right.
One of the
No, it's beautiful. It's just it's so good, and everything that's happened in 2026 with like losing to Macclesfield and Glasgow trying to leave and Mateta refusing to play and all that kind of nonsense. None of that takes away last May. Like 17th of May 2025 will be. I actually today I went in for the first time ever in my life, and I've booked in my first tattoo.
Get in.
Yeah, I'm 41. I'm got 2 kids, and I've got a very lumpy body, but I've decided now's the time to do it. And it's not Palace related, but I just thought of it then because I was thinking about, if I did get a Palace on, it probably would be the date, 17th of May, 2025, because that would just live with me forever. What I'm getting is I'm not getting my kids' names. I'm not getting my wife's name or our wedding date or anything like that, my parents' names or anything. I'm getting the logo from the made-up comedy football team that I play in at Alex Horne's game every year, which is Egg United.
Egg United, love it.
And I'm getting it on my calf because I figured that's like football-y, but also coverable. For acting and stuff. So
but that's a classic place for a badge, the calf.
Yeah,
like you see a lot of England badges,
I thought during the game, I can roll my socks down. Everyone can take photos and stuff. My wife's not the happiest, I'll be totally honest, especially as I just put it in the diary and she was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah. Tattoo day.
She is, unfortunately. But Alex Horne, who runs the game, does Taskmaster, I told him and he thinks it's a brilliant idea. So, whose advice do I take more? My wife's.
Yeah.
Or Taskmaster creator Alex Horne. I mean, it's a difficult one.
And does that get you a place up front, starting in the 11, or?
Well, you decide, Woody. I mean, I've played every game so far, 3 games, and I've scored 2 goals in 3 games. So,
well, there you go. There you go.
I think the stats speak for themselves.
Yep, absolutely. So, Jonesy, are we going to wind back the clock to 90s Crystal Palace?
It was, absolutely, mate. We can wind it back. I guess we can just go start of the Premier League, as we're a Premier League podcast.
Yeah.
Memories of the Premier League? The new shiny toy?
I was at Palace's first game. So my first game was 1st of January 92, which was home to Notts County. Notts County managed by Neil Warnock, if you can believe.
Oh yes. Yeah.
And we won 1-0, and the goal scorer was a guy called Marco Gabbiadini, who we'd signed 3 months earlier to replace Ian Wright. And unfortunately, no one can replace Ian Wright.
No.
The story goes that we were weighing up Marco Gabbiadini or this young Southampton striker called Alan Shearer, and we decided in the end, Shearer was a bit feisty, we'll go for Gabbiadini. So that obviously worked out great. Gabbiadini actually, he got pelters from Palace fans for basically not.
Did he?
Yeah, but his record actually wasn't. I think he only played a year in the end and scored something like 12 goals. So like, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't righty or whatever. But he actually scored the winner that day. I actually hadn't seen the goal in 30 something years until last year. There's some random Palace fan who uploads random Palace goals on Instagram, and it just happened to come across my feed. And I was like, oh my God, this is my first game. And I had no recollection of the goal whatsoever. I think it's a piece sort of toe poke or whatever. So that was great. And then my next game, so that was me and my dad. My next game was, I guess, early or mid August, first game of the Premier League season, home to Blackburn. Alan
Oh,
Shearer, ironically,
yes.
maybe for Blackburn, scores 2 or maybe even a hat trick. Ended up being a 3-3 draw. Palace equalised in the last minute through Simon Osborne. So that was me, my dad, and my brothers. My brother Seb is 3 years younger than me. Now, my memory of the very sunny day, we're in the Arthur Wait, which is where you get the cheap tickets, like kids' tickets, cheapo ones. And my memory is that every time there was a goal, my second game, so I'm like the veteran Palace fan in the family compared to my brother. And I'm like, oh, I know what's going on. Don't you worry, mate. I know what's going on. My memory is that every time there was a goal, it was so overwhelming for him, he burst out crying. And there were 6 goals. But again, unfortunately, that's not quite how the story goes. So apparently, I told my dad recently about this. The story is he cried at the first goal, but by the second or third, he was actually loving it. So, but I prefer my version where he cries at every goal. I think that's funnier. But yeah. So anyway, so I do. Yes, I was there for Palace's first ever Premier League game, and to be honest, a 3-3 draw is an absolute belter. But my memory is, I'd imagine, of most. What would I have been then? Most 8-year-olds at football is super green pitch, incredibly green. You just don't. You're not ready for the green of the pitch. The ongoing noise. You're not really ready for. And no one can ever replicate it. Football movies, football TV show. I think Ted Lasso has come the closest to doing it. But there's something about noise in the stadium, that constant noise of the humor. You just can't replicate it until you're in there. Even just like the hum before even kickoff, like there's just something about it that. So those are my memories of that. And then of course Palace got relegated that season, and 5 years later, we're nearly out of business. But we'll come on to that.
Yes. I was obsessed with Selhurst Park's goals, though, in the 90s. The blue framed back to the goals, absolutely glorious. Crystal Palace had some incredible players, though, in the early 90s. We're talking, you've mentioned Ian Wright, Mark Bright, Chris Armstrong, Jeff Thompson. You've got so many good players. Is there a kind of player that stood out for you early 90s that was kind of like your hero at the time?
So I missed Righty because it was my first game was 1st of January 92, and he left Arsenal in, I want to say, September 91. So I just missed him. So of course, I spent the first few years of being a Palace fan desperate to being 10 years older, because I'd missed the cup final in 1990. I'd missed the semi-final at Villa Park. I'd missed Ian Wright playing for Palace. I missed 91. I missed the Zenith Assistant Cup, all that. So you grow up and all you hear in the pub is people talking about, I wasn't going to the pub at 8. I mean, this is a few years later.
You are a veteran.
It's people talking about early 90s and stuff. So thankfully then, obviously, in fact, last year kind of was, I guess, the 1990 for my generation, for the millennials. But so I missed Righty. My favourite player was Jeff Thomas, who was our sort of captain supreme, our captain leader legend before John Terry coined that. Number 8, midfield, long legs, left-footed, but really used both long flowing blonde hair and a sort of that 90s sort of curtains. Got to interview him a few times since. Super nice guy. Had leukemia about 10, 15 years ago, and raised tons of money through cycling the Tour de France routes before the actual Tour de France. Incredible man, absolute machine of a man. Super nice and down to earth. So one of those very much like do meet your hero situations. But me and my brother both had the Nutmeg TDK 94-95 kit, which I've since bought, which is that exact one. And we both had 8 on the back. I had 8. I don't know if he did, but which was definitely for Jeff. But at the time, there was I think it's in the Premier League. It might have possibly been in foreign leagues as well. There was a trend for having, if you had people with the same name, last name, you'd have their name and then their first letter at the end. So I had Daly J, and he had Daly S, and I'm pretty sure we both had number 8. I certainly did because of Jeff Thomas. I can so clearly see that branding as well. It wasn't Premier League branding before the Premier League branding came in. So Palace, it was Nutmeg. I mean, who the hell were Nutmeg? Who knows even where that came? probably like Andy Gray selling shirts out the back of a van. I remember the lettering, and it had like a little white piping around the end, so I can see that so clearly. But yeah, Jeff Thomas was, I think, for many people of that era, an absolute hero, and has gone on post career to be an even bigger hero.
So, who was your? If we're talking kind of starting 11s, then early Premier League, who would have been the strike force for Palace at that point? Would it have been Chris Armstrong, or would that be a little bit too early?
92, 90. I think we signed him that summer, possibly. May have let Gabbiadini go. I can't remember. So Armstrong, we definitely had him in that season, and we got him from Millwall, I think. And then
Salako
would have been left wing.
Yeah.
Eddie McGoldrick right wing. It would have been Thomas and I think Andy Gray, who may have come back from Villa. A young Gareth Southgate was floating around then as a midfielder.
Yeah.
Then when we got relegated, he actually became captain, I think, and sort of led us back into the top flight. I'm trying to think. Bruce Dyer signed, but that possibly was a year later. He was actually the first £1 million teenager, which was such a waste of £1 million, but never mind. And
who else did you have? George Nadar?
George Ndar came through the ranks
Ndar,
a bit later. Richard, and then in the back was like Richard Shaw, who'd come through the ranks.
Classic Premier League, Richard Shaw.
Oh, I've been trying to interview him on the podcast. Like, I've got his number. I say, but Richard Shaw, and then we had Eric Young and Andy Thorne, who were both from Wimbledon. Nigel Martin was a goalkeeper.
Yes, Nigel Martin.
We had some
I love
good
Nigel
players.
Martin.
We had some good. That year, 92, 93, we actually went down on 49 points, if you can believe
Bloody
it.
hell.
No, hang on. I lie. I lie. That was a few years later. On that year, we went down. It was still high. We went down on goal difference because on our penultimate game of the season, we beat someone at home. Can't remember who. And the gap between us and Oldham Athletic, it's the last time Oldham were in the Premier League, was 9 points, and we had a slightly better goal difference or slightly worse goal difference. And so we were like, well, they're not making that up. And Oldham still had to play Villa, who I think were top or second, Liverpool.
They had that amazing run, didn't they?
Yeah. And so we were like, so Palace actually did a lap of honour, being like, we've done it. Well done, guys. Congratulations. And then, of course, a week later, Oldham won all their games and we went down on gold. So Oldham, for about 20 years, was a real like bête noire. Like, you don't say the O word at Selhurst Park. But then we went back up again, won the Division 1 at that point. Chris Coleman was a name around then. Who actually did play a few times in that season. We must have had a striker shortage. And then we went down in 1994 when they sent 4 teams down to try. I guess maybe they were reducing the Premier League. 20. And we were the 4th team on 49 points. So any other season, we'd have stayed up by an absolute mile. So by this point, I've been a Palace fan for 3 years. Already, I'm getting a taste of how fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I was going to say.
And crazy shit happens to us. And it just continued on in the 90s as well.
This might sound like a silly question, but did you ever see Wimbledon versus Crystal Palace in the Premier League?
Yes. Oh, in the Premier League, no. So I only ever saw it in 2002.
But were they at Selhurst Park at that time?
Yeah. So
what did it feel like?
It felt like the pitch was a fucking mess because it never got a rest. Every week you turn up.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Thanks. Cuckoo. I mean, but the pitch is crap now. You never really saw. Weirdly, my cousin. So on my dad's side, my dad's got 6 sisters, and one of his sisters married a Wimbledon fan, and they had 3 or 4 kids. So my 4 cousins were all Wimbledon fans. So the only time I'd see Wimbledon fans would be at family get-togethers. I never. Actually, I don't think they existed. You know what I mean? Like, I just never saw them in the wild. I never saw them. Like, maybe my cousin was just cosplaying as being a Wimbledon fan. And in fact, one of them, my cousin Maliki, which is one of my middle names, he was at Wimbledon for the first game of the 96-97 season when Beckham scored from the halfway line. And he missed it. He was reading the programme.
Oh, no.
Which is so good. I love that. He sat through a terrible 90 minutes where Wimbledon had been like pumped 2 or 3-0. And then the greatest Premier League goal of all time is scored right in front of him in the goal that he sat right in front of. And because it was the last minute, he's just reading the programme, reading about like Wimbledon under 19s. And he's missed all you see is Sullivan jumping. He's like, oh, what's happened? So I was like, so yeah, but I did see Wimbledon Palace I know this is not 90s, in about 2002 in the Championship. And I sat in the away end. And by this point, I'm like 16, 17, 18, and I had a season ticket in the Homestyle. And so I sat in the away end and looked and saw a Wimbledon fan in my season ticket seat. And that is a very,
yeah.
thing to see at a game. And then
Yeah.
they left a couple of years after. I think that's when the whole MK thing happened, maybe a year later. But we shared with them maybe 10, 12 years possibly in the end.
It's a long time for a ground. Oh, I mean, Inter Milan AC is the longest, obviously, but
Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
I know I'd say
Yeah.
very similar. I've always said very,
Yeah,
very similar.
yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
a Milan
Absolutely.
club and Palace Wimbledon.
All right. Do you want to hit on the 94? Let's go back to 94, 95. You can see the kits behind me. They've got a Man United one and a Crystal Palace one.
You just had to do this, Jonesy, didn't you? You just had to.
Let's talk about a certain Frenchman. Were you there? Were you at the game or?
No, I wasn't. And I know you're coming onto a viral video that I posted, where I said at the time, I wasn't at Selhurst this night, but I remember listening to the radio of Cantona kicking the Matthew Simmons to Palace. And people going, he wasn't even at Selhurst. He claims he's a fan who wasn't even there. I was 9. So
Steady on.
So I think I actually got to hand it to my parents for not letting me go, because I would have gone 100%. At that age, 8, 9, 10, 11, you're obsessed with your football team. You'll do anything to get there. So I would have gone, but mum and dad didn't let me, which is fair enough. But I remember listening on the radio, and it was Jonathan Pearce on Capital Gold, which was an absolute staple of London 90s radio. And I remember, I can still see myself in my old bedroom in mum and dad's house, listening, and just I'd imagine being in the ground, it must have been completely insane. But even listening on the radio, because of how good Jonathan Pearce is at kind of painting a picture with words, I just couldn't believe I was listening. I must have called to Dad. I don't remember him being there, but it was just insane to hear it. One of the sort of things you're like, I need to go and watch the TV tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
I need to see it. So it wasn't there, but I do remember it happening. And of course, I weirdly at the time, certainly being 9 or I'd have actually been 10, because it would have been 95. I remember being really offended as a Palace fan. Being like, how dare this guy kick a Palace fan? Of course, then it quickly turns out that Matthew Simmons is one of the worst people of all time. Very sort of far right fascist. So quickly, everyone's like, no, he's not one of us. But at the time. But I've seen the photo, I've seen the videos so many times. The photos, like Cantona wasn't. There's the row behind. There's a mum and a couple of kids. Like, that's slightly wrong.
It's such a weird thing to see, though, isn't it? Even that, like, I know there's a lot of abuse and things for players, but to see that level of how far it can go was pretty shocking, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I totally get why Man United fans are obsessed with it, because it's such an iconic moment, because it's him. If it had been Dennis Irwin, I don't think many people would have cared that much, like, because it was Cantona, and that's the sort of crazy crap that he did. I get it, and actually, and Matthew Simmons' defense in court was terrible. He said, all I said was, "It's an early bath for you, Mr. Cantona." He's obviously said something really offensive. Of course,
I like showers.
Yeah. Shout for you, Mr. Cantona. How you silly little man. He's obviously said something xenophobic, vaguely racist, whatever. He's awful. Sounds like he was an awful person, so that checks out. I think the most impressive thing is that Cantona landed it so cleanly, because he could have got that so wrong. It's incredibly impressive physical point of view. And again, I'm not trying to give Cantona credit, and I'll tell you why in a minute, because there is a bit of history afterwards, which is why Palace fans I do get so affected by it. But he could have got it so wrong. I'm genuinely so impressed. And it's the old style hoardings. They're not little. These are big things. Like
chunky.
Really impressive. The only the only Man United player that could have done that. There's no Mark Hughes isn't doing that, is he? Like, there's Steve Bruce isn't doing that. Like,
well, you mentioned Dennis Irwin. Like, that would rock the world of football if Dennis Irwin did it.
That would be amazing. But can I just tell you really quickly though why Palace fans suffer? Because I said it in this original clip, which was on the Football Historian podcast. I did say it's quite an emotional thing. People going, emotional? What? Emotional because you support the BNP? Emotional because of the Palace? The reason it's emotional, and I always feel bad because it always brings the mood down this. And I was on a Man United podcast recently, and they didn't know about this. And I think probably like 99% of Man United fans don't know this. And that game was like February 95 or something like that.
Yeah.
A month or so later, we played Man United in the FA Cup semi-final at Villa Park. We went down. We actually got to 2 semi-finals that year in the league and FA Cup. And it was like a 2-2 draw. It was a really good game.
Yeah.
I think Roy Keane gets sent off for stamping on Gareth Southgate.
I was going to say the stamp, yeah.
But before the game, so obviously it's in Villa Park, it's in Birmingham. Before the game, in Walsall, there was a pub were designated. I think it might have been a mixed pub, but there was some Man United fans in there, some Palace fans were drinking, and they bear in mind since '95, so we're not far out of the '80s and hooliganism and stuff. It is getting better, obviously.
Mhm.
And so Man United fans are in the pub, Palace fans are drinking in the pub. Man United fans start chanting Cantona. Palace fans are going like, "Oh, piss off, whatever." Don't you know? Then a few more drinks get had. It gets a bit like more heated, and then it turns a bit violent, and there's a bit of like punching and running and slapping, whatever. Then it spills outside, and again, this is all like very secondhand. I obviously wasn't there. Again, fun enough, Dad didn't let a 10-year-old go drinking in Walsall before the game. And apparently, a Palace fan his name was Paul Nixon gets stabbed by a Man United fan, and a brick thrown at his head or something, and then stumbles into the road and actually gets run over, sadly, by the Palace supporters coach. I'm guessing Palace supporters are trying to get on the coach to get out of there, and he dies on the scene. And this happened, I want to say, a couple of hours before the game, to the point where they were actually going to cancel the game or postpone it. And Alex Ferguson and Alan Smith at the time, the Palace manager, did have a meeting about it with the referees, and they decided to play the game. There was a minute's silence. The players wore black armbands. Like, there were real clues that something happened.
Gosh.
And obviously, being it the mid-90s, that doesn't really get further than South London newspapers and South London pubs. So so every year they tend to come to Selhurst with their Cantona mask and Ut our Cantona. What they don't realise, and this is absolutely not a blame game at all, they don't know that they're then triggering a traumatic memory. Even if they didn't know Paul Nixon, I never knew Paul Nixon. But a Palace fan, one of your own, dying in a violent incident feels like a family. It'd be the same for you guys. Football feels like a family. So that's why for Palace fans, it's a little bit, it rankles a little bit, where it's a bit like, all the Cantona stuff just makes you think of that poor guy that passed away. To be fair to Paul Nixon's family, and in the sort of decade or so after that, there was loads of Paul Nixon banners and chants and stuff. His family said, "Can you guys just leave it? We've tried to move on." Like, there's a memorial plaque at where he is. And in fact, the Homesdale Fanatics, the sort of Palace ultra fans, every year they go off and they clean the plaque and just have a little more on the anniversary.
Okay, that's nice.
Remember Paul, move on, kind of thing. So yeah, it's all a bit weird. But I go back to my original statement. Eric Cantona was overrated as a player, and I'm still happy to say it. And I in the moment on that podcast, I did panic. I hadn't prepped anything, and Peter said
it just fell out.
It fell out, and maybe it's the Palace thing again. It fell out, and then I spent about 90 seconds trying to like justify it. I was like, well, he didn't. He retired at 30, so he didn't play many games. He not true. He played like 40 games every season. He didn't score that many goals. Scored 150 goals in 300 appearances. He didn't really win much. Won the Premier League 5 out of 6 seasons. He didn't play much for France. Okay, fine. I take that one. Didn't play for France. So, but funnily enough, on 80% of the comments on the video are like, "Oh, what your worst take of all time?" Like,
yeah.
A few people have said to me, "Yeah, actually, I didn't rate him much." So there are some people out there that believe it, but it's all content, isn't it? It's all content.
There's a small resistance brigade, Jim, that do feel that he's overrated. So
probably like Primely in SC25 in South London, but maybe.
What's next, Jonesy?
Do you want to touch on their kits as well? Do you want to? But I guess the thing is, maybe obviously the late 90s, Palace had a bit of trouble, didn't they?
Yeah, well, we always had trouble. I mean, God, the 90s in general are a mad. We start the 90s about to play in our first ever cup final. The next year we come third in the top flight. 1991, we win the Zenith Data Systems. We should have gone into Europe, but English teams are banned because of high school. That summer, Liverpool actually get let in. There's a whole thing. So we should have been in Europe. We weren't. Obviously, we've now in Europe. We get relegated, get promoted. We get relegated. We lose a playoff final. We win a playoff final. We get relegated. And then the final season of the 90s, we go into administration. So there isn't a single season, there isn't a single year in the decade where something crazy isn't happening at Crystal Palace. It's the most chaotic decade. And by 31st of December 1998, Palace are officially in administration. Can't pay the players. Everyone's left. All our star players have left. Even Bruce Dyer has left. That's how bad it got. And we actually then, end of that season, we basically have to play the kids. And that's how the likes of Clinton Morrison, Hayden Mullins got their professional stages, and then went on to have very, very good careers. And I remember that. I remember vividly that time, Palace fans marching up the Homesdale. A guy who used to run one of the fanzines called One More Point, called Chris Lehman, who I've become mates with, dressed as a Grim Reaper with a giant eye, whatever, marching and Palace, and I think they carried a coffin and stuff. Like, it was all very dramatic. They were trying to, exactly. happens to too many clubs.
It does.
Like, almost any club now will have a memory of that. And I vividly remember thinking, oh my God, what are we going to do? Like, who am I going to support? Is it going to be a Phoenix team? At that point, 1999, I'm 14. I'm thinking, if we get a Phoenix team that goes to like step 10, I might fancy a little trial there. You know, I was half decent. You know what I mean?
Because it's crazy. Because you have Adidas, and then you kind of go into administration. You haven't got a sponsor, and I didn't even know. And I did some research. So you've got like Turnstiles Football Barbers, Inter-Resource.
There was a different sponsor every year. So Turnstiles was a barber's in Oxted in Surrey, where I went to school. So I had my hair cut in Turnstiles, and the guy that owned it was a big Palace fan. So literally every week there'd be a different sponsor. It'd be like,
I've got these ones. I found these ones. Selhurst Park Stewards. Click4air.com.
Just the stewards for like, how much is it? 100 quid? Oh, fuck it. We'll put them on here. Click for Air. Who knows what that is? Click for Air.
Click for Air. I don't know. I should put it into click4air.com, see if it's still around.
I did not know this.
Yeah,
we were
crazy.
TDK for most of the 90s. TDK classic.
Yeah.
I would only make mum and dad only buy TDK tapes in the 90s. Like, it's very committed to it.
It's funny though, isn't it? When you see a brand and you associate it, when you see TDK, you go Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
All the time.
You know, Sharp, I would think of, Carlsberg.
JBC. Yeah,
exactly. Like, TDK is very Palace. But so for that season, those shits there were 99, 2000. So our last year of the decade. And it was. And there's the manufacturer. You see, we had Adidas for 3 or 4 seasons. That's TFG Sports. Again, who knows where it's from.
I mean, you've gone from Bayern Munich's kit or the Bayern Munich template.
Probably my favorite. If we're coming on to kits, that's my favorite Palace kit.
Yeah.
Certainly of that decade, possibly of all time. I love that kit.
I think the playoff goal from Hopkins as well, I mean, in that kit is incredible.
I've got a story about that as well. I went to that. So I went to the previous final. So we went down in 95. We then got to the playoff final in 1996, which was at Wembley. I went with my dad, just me and dad, and his best mate Leonard, who's an 84-year-old Spanish guy who my dad knows from living in Claygate. And they used to go to Palace together in the 70s and 80s. Then we moved abroad, and in the 90s they got back together again, and they still watch Palace now together. 2026 season tickets next to each other in the main stand, and I sit behind them.
Incredible.
They've had things they've seen on that play. Incredible. Lovely, lovely bloke. I'm trying to sort him tickets for Fiorentina at home currently because he forgot to get them on his season ticket. Anyway, what were we talking about? 1990s. Yeah. So I went to that playoff final. Steve Claridge scored in the 120th minute to win it in extra time. We thought we were going to penalties. Leicester literally brought on this massive Australian keeper, I think, called Zelic. Anyway,
Zelic,
didn't go to penalties because Claridge scored with his shin from like 30 yards. Anyway, even though he claimed for years it wasn't his shin, it clearly was. Anyway, I remember walking down Wembley Way crying. I'm 12 at that point, or nearly to 11. And Dad's going, Dad's obviously by this point Palace fan for 4 years. He's like, don't worry, like it's his Palace up and down. We get back there a year later against Sheffield United, and it's a boiling hot day. I remember it's so hot.
Yeah.
This guy called Tango Man. Do you remember Tango Man? He was like this guy dressed in orange and go to games and huge. It might have been a possible post-Euro 96 thing. He's at Wembley, everyone's going, Tango. And anyway, Hopkins, last minute, Hopkins out this goal from the top corner. And I could almost, if you tested me, I think I could replay the entire commentary. I've watched it so many times. My memory is I'm sat behind the goal that he scores in. I can see it now. I can see the top corner. I can see it going. So my memory is I can see it going in slow-mo, and I'm the first person out of my seat. Unfortunately, every Palace fan I've spoken to also sat behind the goal and was the first person out of their seat at that game. But I can still see it now, and that's such a good moment. Having lost before.
But it did seem like it happened in slow motion, that goal, didn't it? Because it just sort of curled and it went in the air for ages. And he looked absolutely exhausted, didn't he? Because obviously it was a hot game.
Yeah.
I was elated that you'd stopped Sheffield United getting to the Premier League, though. So that was a beautiful moment for me. But if we're talking about that particular TDK kit, the Bayern Munich template, etc., can we talk a little bit about the Bald Eagle?
Oh, please.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've spoke about him on a previous episodes and Thomas Brolin, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy times. Just talk to us a bit about Palace in that era, if you can, Jim.
So that's obviously our highest profile signing at that point. So, summer 97. I remember my dad bursting in the living room going, we've got him. I'm like, who? Lombardo. I'm like, Palace. What? No. Surely you mean like Lazio? No, Palace have signed Lombardo. He was so. I've only seen my dad excited twice. He's a very mild mannered, second generation Irish Catholic man, 6 sisters. He didn't hug me till I was about 8, and I've seen him lose his shit twice. Once as Ray Houghton scored for Ireland against Italy in the 1994 World Cup, so I'm dancing around the living room, and the second time when Lombardo signed for Palace, and yeah, I mean, it's so high profile. It's that we bought him for something crazy like 1.6 million, and a week later we spent 2 million on Neil Emblem from Wolves. That's how mental
Oh,
it's so Emblem like barely played for us. Lombardo was a cut. I mean, it wasn't even a cut above. He was light years ahead of every player in that Palace team.
Yeah.
Scored in his debut away at Everton. Scored in the next away game away at Leeds. I think we then beat Blackburn or something. We were top of the league, or certainly up there. We had the best away record in the league going into like November. Unfortunately, we didn't win a home game till April, so all away form meant nothing. We won away at Spurs. We lost at Liverpool. We got a point at Liverpool. I think we were certain we were very, very good on the road, and he was a massive part of that. And he even stayed when we got relegated.
I was going to say he did, didn't he? Did he play and manage much though, or was he more of a manager, or how did it work out for that?
No, I'd even forgotten that happened. That's how mental Palace are. I'd forgotten that for the last, whatever it was, 10 games a season, Attilio Lombardo, a man that couldn't speak a word of English, was Crystal Palace's manager, trying to tell Neil Shipley and Bruce Dyle off the run. Like, absolutely mental. I've interviewed, I want to interview Lombardo. That's like for the Palace pod. That's like the ultimate, but I just like him down the night, man. He can't really speak English. I've interviewed Matt Jansen a few times. He's a player that we signed from Carlisle that year. Probably my favourite ever Palace player, like, absolutely mercurial guy. Went to Blackburn, was brilliant, and then had a motorcycle accident, was in a coma, had to learn how to play football again. Fascinating story. He's got a great book out about it. Lovely bloke. But anyway, he was there when Lombardo was player manager for his first game, which is away at Newcastle, which actually we won 2-1. Jansen and Lombardo both scored. And the night before, Jansen told the story of something like they're up there having their pre-match meal, and someone brings out a bottle of champagne. Everyone's like, what are you doing? We've got a game in like 12 hours. And Lombardo's like, or maybe his translator, it is tradition for Italian manager when you man everybody toast with the champagne. And Shipley and Dave Tuttle were like, fucking hell, get in. So, of course, the Italians have won. And by the end of the night, the Palace players absolutely fucking pissed. But they still went 1-2 at Newcastle. But yeah, he couldn't speak English. Brolin apparently was his translator, which makes sense because Brolin was Scandinavian and had played in Italy for
Parma. Yeah.
Speak a bit. Brolin's a fascinating one because by the time he'd come to us, he'd had a terrible stint at Leeds. He was World Player of the Year one. Well, certainly.
Yeah, crazy.
And had put on a lot of weight and had really struggled and came to us and wasn't as bad as people make out. He had a couple of injuries, had a really bad head injury away at Barnsley, I think. There's a really iconic photo of him with like a bloody headband on sort of Terry Butcher style. He wasn't too bad, but I think the whole Leeds thing had completely like butchered his profile in England.
Yeah.
But he was okay. But yeah, Lombardo, a real like, I mean, the fact that you could call him the bald eagle, he did the eagle celebration like that when he scored, like in that Bayern Munich kit. The away kit that year was a yellow with a blue band across the front.
Oh, that was classic as well. Yeah.
And then he stayed when we went down. Like what a guy! And only sold him 6 months into relegation season for money, which he and Jansen left the same week. But we signed another Italian that season. In fact, we signed 3 Italians that season. We had Lombardo, and then around January, maybe November, I don't think the window was a thing, we signed Michele Padovano from Juventus.
Oh, I remember that. I forget that, but yeah.
Mental. And he only played 6 games. He immediately got injured. He scored away at Leicester and then barely played again. And then a few years later, he went to prison for fraud.
Is that right?
Yeah.
God.
Oh. And we signed another Italian, a guy called Ivano Bonetti. In fact, we had 2 more, who I think had been played a lot of lower league football, played for Grimsby and stuff like lower league.
Oh, yeah.
Played like 1 game away at Wednesday. We actually won away. We won every away game. Won away at Wednesday. I think he played in that. And we had another guy called Patrizio Biglio, and I don't even know if he actually played for us. But throughout that season, I reckon there was a couple of agents who just had Palace in their pocket who were constantly going, "Do you want this guy? You want this guy?"
Yeah.
Opening their coat, going, "I've got Biglio." What do you reckon? $500,000? So yeah, crazy season. But Lombardo will just go down as an absolute hero.
Was that the same season though as Dean Gordon's Thunderbolt at Bolton?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that game we scored 2 goal of season contenders. That one, and Marcus Bent smashes one in from 30 yards in the top corner as well. And no one remembers them because we let him fly.
No. Yeah. Oh well. There you go.
I do a lot of freelance work doing social media stuff. And I was working at an agency last year, and I said to someone, a young lad, Joe, who's a Spurs fan, I said, "Oh, my favourite player is Lombardo. Remember Lombardo?" And he was like, "Who's Lombardo?" I was like, "Oh no."
Oh.
Yeah, that's an instant no-no, isn't it?
We've now got to the time where people don't remember him.
Yeah.
Which is
Neymar.
How? Want to just quickly do the quiz?
Yeah.
We can.
Yeah, come on. Jim deserves a quiz.
Welcome. Episode 3, question of shorts. Woody.
Hello again.
Welcome. Go to team member now, mate. To challenge you.
Excellent.
Which area are we?
Photoshopping / MS Paint work on the logo again.
Thanks, mate.
That's super.
We all done. Here we go. So are we going against Ian Botham, or which was your question of sports era? Were you Botham Beaumont or Parrot McCoist?
Parrot McCoist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Legendary. All right, cool. So, question of shorts. Basically, we just show a picture of shorts, and you just got to guess who it is. Bonus point for the player.
I love this. I love it already.
You love it already? Okay, cool. Let's go to the number board. So this is, if it comes up, guess the shortsman. All right, what are we going for? What number?
Go on, Jim. You have first pick.
My favourite number on the football pitch, number 7.
Number 7. Oof.
Most
of these are from. Look at those thighs.
It looks like Chelsea. It looks like Chelsea away, or Chelsea, that weird orange kit. I'm gonna say. God, so I get a point for that, do I? Get a
point for that?
Yeah.
You just got to guess the shortsman.
Right. The first name that came to mind is Mark Steen.
Ooh. Woody, you want to have a guess?
I'm going to go Doobs with this one. Dewberry.
Oh, it was Paul Furlong. Look at that face.
Paul Furlong.
I always forget Paul Furlong.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
I don't know if you know the backstory, but I have to go through Shoot Magazine, Jim, and scan posters I can find.
Love it.
It's a very...
Couldn't be more in my wheelhouse. I just love it.
All right. What are we going for next?
Let's go for number 4, please, Jonesy.
Number 4? Yeah, sure. So last week, Woody, you asked me to mix it up. Instead of shorts, we've gone for a bit of a shirt. I've taken the sponsor and everything off.
What's going on here?
So this is 93-94.
93-94. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that looks like a QPR away there. Thank you. I was waiting for the buzzer there.
Wimbledon away.
Yeah.
Who have you got? QPR. So this is 93-94.
Again, the nerd in me is now thinking QPR players in long sleeve.
Look, he's got it looks like he's got captain's armband on there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go 93. That's got to be Ray Wilkins.
Oh!
Love
it.
Played for Palace. One game, or not even that, 33 minutes at the start of the...
Who didn't he play for, Jim, though? I mean, like his teams were insane, right?
True. Love that.
Excellent. Right. Next. Who have we got? What do you want to go for?
I'll go for number 10.
Oh, number 10.
Is that Mizuno boots? They are.
I think maybe. So. This is 93-94 season.
Right.
So the last time we put a picture like this, it was Terry Phelan. What a feeling. And Woody got it spot on.
Palace.
And Woody got that one spot on.
From an oiled thigh.
Looking at those short, 93 out of 4. I think that's Swindon.
That is a Swindon undercarriage, surely. Yeah.
Swindon undercarriage. sounds like a PA plane.
Who's the shortsman?
The only Swindon. There's 2 Swindon players I can think of from that era. One's the player manager, but I'm going to go for John Moncur.
You got this poster on your wall.
I was good. Yeah, great shout. Great. What a kit.
It's obvious. So, I'm pleased with that.
Bit of backstory. Woody gets Ken Moncal and John Moncur mixed up.
Yeah.
You listen to a previous episode? Explain, Woody, explain.
It's just the names. It's not the look. Right, moving on.
Right,
Number 8, please, Jonesy.
Yep, number 8. Oh, this is a tough one. This is a shirt. It could be either 2 teams.
Oh, God. It could be 2 teams.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Man City for this one.
No.
Okay.
Come on. Was there any other team that wore that?
Everton. Okay.
Who'd you think?
Oh, well, I had David Unsworth last week, didn't I?
You did, yeah. What do you think?
Dave Watson.
Have you got anyone, Jim?
I was thinking
Everton. So 93, 94.
I was thinking Paul Rideout.
See, I was going to say Rideout.
It's Anders Limpar. Cool. All right. We'll
Did
do
he play for
more.
Palace?
Yeah. No. Shockingly didn't. No.
All right. We'll do one more.
What number was that? What was that one?
That was 8.
8.
Okay, I'll go for 11.
11. Okay, let me just find it. All right, I've gone Division 1 for this one. This is a sock, because Woody said he wants some sock work in the previous episodes.
That has to be Wolves, surely.
Correct.
To be honest, though, this is going to be such a stab in the dark. So what year did you say this was?
I think it might be 94, 95. Look at that. Look at that boot.
Can I just say, the nerd in me even knows the match here, because that is a sock from Reading that they're playing.
That is incredible work.
Who's the dirty player? Look at that challenge.
It's got to be a Phil Parkinson there, yeah.
All right,
but
who do you got for Wolves?
The Wolves player, I don't know if he's still playing for them. There's the only Wolves player I can think of in the 90s. I'm going to go Steve Bull.
No.
May not have been playing for them at that.
What's the old long-haired guy, De Wolf?
De Wolf? No. I can give you a hint. It's another Steve.
Froggatt.
There you go.
Very
good.
Look at that.
Good.
Excellent. All right. I think we're done. Let's get out of here.
No, give Jim one more. Give him one more.
Oh,
we can't end on Steve Froggatt.
My wife, I have had the messages from my wife. I can't tell. I can't come because I'm naming random 90s footballers.
By their socks. One more. One more.
I'll pick a random. This one is a keeper shirt.
Oh God,
this is easy.
It looks like Southampton from the short, so I will go.
Oh, great shout.
Bruce Grobbelaar.
There we go. Done. Excellent.
Ending on a high.
Right. Let's get out of here.
Bravo.
We're back. You enjoyed that one?
I loved it. Thanks, guys. That was so perfect. Right up my street. I wish I could do that forever. Why can't we all just do 90s football quizzes all the time? Why don't we like work and do stuff? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Do you want to quickly tell us about the shirt you're wearing, Jim? Yeah. Before we go,
I'm wearing a shirt from a company called Legends in Threads. They're sponsoring my tour. This is an embroidered Chloe Kelly from the Euros a couple of years ago. Yeah, they do great stuff. Loads of Palace ones. They've made a Jim Daly FC shirt for my tour as well, which I'm looking forward to wearing. Legends in Threads, and in fact, if you use the code Jim12, you get 12% off. So there you go. Little
brilliant
bonus for your listeners. And that's all part for my tour, Match of the Daily, which is, as I said before, going to 6 cities. In the UK, actually just in England. And you can get tickets for those at jimdalycomedy.com/tour. It'd be great to see people at those shows. It's going to be very similar to this podcast. Lots of fun, silly football. Yeah, so
perfect.
Excellent.
We could put a link down there, Jonesy, can't we?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I will do that. Thank you so much for coming on, Jim.
Yeah, thank you.
Boys. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
All right.
Brilliant. Cool. Jim, thank you ever so much.
That was Jim Daly.
That was Jim Daly. How cool was that to take it a step down memory lane, but from a football fan's point of view of Crystal Palace?
How good was that?
What a turbulent history there they've had. I mean, like playoffs, relegation, liquidation, the Bald Eagle. Whoa.
Yeah. What a roller coaster. But that's it. Excellent. But yeah, get along to Jim's Match of the Daily tour. I wish he'd come to Australia. I should have asked him if he was going to tour Australia.
Yeah. Yeah, we get it all over here, mate. Sorry.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, what a cracking episode, Woody. All right,
Yeah.
where can we find you, mate?
You can find me at Woody W 1988. Jonesy, what about yourself, mate?
I'm at football.jonesy. That's it. That's where I am.
Cool.
That's where I'll always be. Excellent. Cool. Do you want to see us out, mate?
Yeah, thanks ever so much, Jim, again for being our guest for the show, guys. I hope you liked it. Obviously, we look forward to speaking to you again next week. Look after yourselves and love 90s Premier League football. See you later.
Yes. See ya.